because they are totally different. Well, they're in different places and they do different things. They have similar names, but that's it. Okay, so this blue part here is blood from the digestive organs back to the heart through the liver. Okay, and so you may notice that we started with the intestine and did not start with the rectal gland. So blood from the rectal gland and from all of the muscles goes back to the heart through the kidneys. And so now we're going to learn about the kidney blood return system. For the kidney blood return system, you will need to know where the kidneys are. And I'll point out to you something called the posterior cardinal sinus, which you can find in your shark. The other structures that we will learn are pretty small and also don't stain with the paint, and so they're really difficult to see. And so you will actually mostly need the kidney blood return system just to list the parts of the kidney blood return system in order. Excuse me, which is what we will do now. So we're going to start down here in the bottom corner with the afferent renal vein. Okay, so you guys already know that afferent means into, right? Afferent means into, renal means kidney. So the afferent renal vein is going to carry blood into, remember that I have light and I'm wondering if that might help things. Okay, light on. So the blood goes from the afferent renal vein into the kidney, and the kidney is a ribbon-like structure on either side of the dorsal aorta, so you should be able to locate that pretty easily in your shark. The blood leaves the kidney, unsurprisingly, through the efferent renal vein. Okay, afferent renal vein into the kidney, efferent renal vein out of the kidney. From there, the blood flows into the posterior cardinal vein, which is just on the outside of the kidney, but it usually doesn't stain, so you can't really see it. And then into the posterior cardinal sinus. So if you will, take your shark and move the lobe of the liver and the reproductive organ. You'll see this kind of like big balloon kind of structure just inside of the pectoral fins. That is the posterior cardinal sinus. It is called posterior because it is posterior to the heart, not because it is at the back of the shark, which is somewhat confusing. But in any case, so the blood from the posterior cardinal sinus drains into the common cardinal vein, which will drain into the sinus venosus. Sinus venosus. Because remember, all of the blood from all of the veins must eventually come back to the sinus venosus. The one bit that we are still missing is the blood from the head, and the blood from the head will all gather in the anterior cardinal sinus and will then empty into the common cardinal vein, which will then empty into the sinus venosus. Okay, so there's one more bit that I want to leave you guys with, and that is just to repeat the lesser omentum. So the lesser omentum is a membrane sleeve or tube kind of structure that you can see coming from the conjunction of the liver and the gallbladder down toward the intestine. And the lesser omentum has 3 different structures that run in it. You should be prepared to list these 3 structures and to identify the lesser omentum. Structure number 1 is the hepatic artery. You will know it because it is pink. Structure number 2 is the hepatic portal vein. You will know it because it is yellow. Structure number 3 is the bile duct. You can't see it at all because it's clear, but it's in there anyway. So you will need to know for these 3 structures that they are in the lesser omentum and then for each one, what it does. And you're like, okay. So the hepatic artery is going to, the function for all of the circulatory system pieces is to carry blood from somewhere to somewhere. So the hepatic artery function is to transport blood from the gastrohepatic artery to the liver. So it's like the step ahead of it. Here we go. Function of the hepatic artery is to carry blood from the gastrohepatic artery to the liver. Function of the hepatic portal vein is to take all of the blood that is returned from the digestive system and take it to the liver. The function of the bile duct is to transport bile from the liver / gallbladder, depending on how much has been stored, to the intestine, where that bile will be used in digestion. You will need to know what type of nutrient bile is used to digest. I've actually just had an idea, so I am going to go back through this quickly and write all of the organs. So the hepatic artery goes to the liver, the gastric artery goes to the cardiac stomach, the gastrosplenic artery goes to the spleen. And again, for each of these digestive organs, or in the case of the spleen, like the central body organs, you will need to know each of their functions. The posterior mesenteric artery carries blood to the rectal gland.